I want to thank everybody for being here, and I think it's a very nice turnout, especially since we'll be at 6 different locations. We'll kind of spread it out. It's a nice group to be able to share some information with. We're going to start with, my name is Sean Woodward, and I'm the superintendent of the Lake Pond Ray School District. And this is Kendon Perry. Kendon is our chairman of our facility planning committee. So he's going to kick us off.
All right.
Thanks, Kendon.
Where's the whistle?
Here we go.
Is that the whistle?
Yep, that's
All
it.
right, good. I'd like to say this is the first time I've done that, but that wouldn't be quite the truth. So once thank you everybody for showing up today and the opportunity to share some of the facts that are behind this levy. And I will highlight that word facts. So before we get started and I turn the floor over to Sean, I think it's pretty important that we talk a little bit about the history of why are we here, how did we get to where we are today, and I hope nobody minds me sitting down, but it's been a long day. So going back, and I originally said that this goes back a year, this whole process of the school board and the administration deciding to start some long-range facility planning in the district, but that's not quite true. It actually goes back further than that, and I think, Wendy, were you involved in that last one that Dick Civitanich did? Geraldine, I imagine you probably were. So back when Dick Civitanich was here, probably back in 2006 or thereabouts, Dick convened a long-range planning facility committee, very similar to what Sean and current school board did. And out of that came, after quite a bit of discussion, but not as in-depth as what we went through with some of the data that Teeter provided us, came the decision to do the plant facility levy in 2008, which was about a $13 million plant facility levy. So it's been suggested that this has been a very hastily developed plan that just happened within the last 10 months, and that's not actually true. It goes back quite a ways, and it was a very conscious decision not to continue that for obvious reasons. Dick Civitanich left, Sean came in. You know, a new person needs to get their wheels under them before they start making some serious decisions, and most importantly, our country suffered the second most significant financial crisis that we've ever seen. So prudent minds would not have embarked on a plant facility levy. So it's also been said of what in the world have you guys been doing? Why haven't you addressed this sooner than you are now? Well, once again, 2007, 8, 9, and 10 was not a very good environment economically to try and go down the road that we're going now. Whether or not our economy is fully recovered, I don't have that crystal ball, because if I did, I wouldn't be here wasting my time with you folks. I'd write the check and we'd be done, and then I'd go back on my yacht. But that's not the reality. So last year, at the request of the school board, Sean and administration hired Dave Teeter and Associates. Dave Teeter is, I've got his resume somewhere here. It's about 7 pages long, shows about 4 pages of different school districts and municipalities that he and his crew have worked with throughout the Northwest and as far east as Virginia, and I don't think you can get much further east than Virginia. I didn't stay awake through most of geography, but I don't think you can go much further east. So Dave Teeter, along with Matt Deal, and yes, Matt did do some of the evaluations, absolutely, but I've got a letter here at the request of one of our friends, I will say, that says that Dave Nichols did, in fact, walk the buildings and prove Matt's work. So Sean convened a 14-person committee. I contend it was a broad cross-section. There were, at that point in time, I did have a student in the district. I don't anymore. Several others in-district people, but I would consider a very thoughtful group of people that went through that process. And we didn't come to that with any preconceived notions. We came to that ready to analyze the data that Dave Teeter and his associates put together for us. And I can tell you that if you've read that document, it's about 148 pages thick, that there was homework on that. So it's not as though we just showed up for an hour and a half and guffawed with each other. We had homework, and we were very diligent while we were there. And so once again, I'll contend that we were very diligent in analyzing Mr. Teeter's data. So what I'd like to do is read verbatim the objective of what the initiative was. And it reads, in commissioning this study, the Lake Pend Oreille School District had several guidelines. The consultants have to provide the district with an independent, third-party, data-driven professional assessment of the conditions of its facilities. The consultants must coordinate their work with the Facility Planning Committee. The work of the consultants and the committee have to demonstrate how best to improve existing facilities in this priority order. Provide for safety and security of students and staff, provide for student enrollments, improve the physical condition of buildings, and improve the educational adequacy of the facilities. The work of the consultants and committee has to demonstrate a plan for effective and efficient facilities, especially given tightening school finance trends. Reduction of personnel is not a goal of the study. Individual personalities are not a factor in the study. In other words, the collective efforts of the consultants, the committee, the staff, and the board are to determine facility improvement options that will make an excellent school system even better. And as the chairman of that committee, I can absolutely say with confidence that we delivered on what we were tasked with doing. And along the way, we learned some very interesting lessons about the challenges that local school districts are faced with by basically the state of Idaho. There are 4 dates that are identified each year that a school district can run their levies. The different levels of yes votes that you have to achieve to get people to approve your plan, and the fact that other than probably less than 6 figures, don't let anybody fool you, the lottery does not send a lot of money to Lake Pend Oreille School District for operations or capital improvements. And then most importantly, it's that local property taxes, good, bad, or indifferent, are the only way that the state of Idaho allows for funding of school building projects. So I'm a property tax owner, my property taxes will go up. As chairman and as speaking on behalf of the committee, we do not apologize for going out and asking property owners for more tax dollars. Go to Boise if you're concerned about that. It's also very important, I think, to realize that district dollars, so you'll see the yes signs around town, you'll hear the radio advertisements, everything in the B, none of that is afforded by Lake Pend Oreille School District budget. All of that money is raised from local people outside the district. Once again, another interesting rule that the state of Idaho puts on the shoulders of the school district. And then finally, absolutely $55 million is a very large sum of money. I get that. I think I know everybody on the committee understood that, but I do believe that the need is absolutely very critical, and we have to stop looking in the rearview mirror and wondering why we got here, and look through the front, through the windshield, and say, where are we going and how do we come to a solution to solve where we're at with our facilities. So on that note,
I think you said it all. We're done.
all right, let's go have a beer.
So we'll be going until about 5:45. We have to go to another meeting at that time, but I should be done with my part by 5:35, and then we'll have time for questions and those kinds of things as well. So I will be able to skip through some of these as Kendon covered. I do want to point this out. About 4 years ago, when I moved here with my family, we were super excited to move myself, my wife, and our 3 children here. We were excited about the community. Really excited about the mountains, the water, the people, and one thing I researched was academic achievement. We were not going to come to a school district that did not have an upward trajectory. It wasn't looking good, it was innovative, and all those kinds of things. My wife told me, if you're going to apply to be a superintendent, don't go to a starter school district that we will not have our kids there. So it was somewhere that's in good shape. I looked at finances of the school district. Were they in good, sound financial shape, and they have a good reserve in place, which is true on both accounts. And support of the community. It was obvious that there's a tremendous amount of support in this community. So we moved, and well, before I interviewed, we checked out all of those things. My first day here ever to be in Sandpoint was for the interview. And so I got here, I did the interview, it was really exciting, and then I cruised around the school district and went to the facilities, and I thought, ooh, I'm missing, I missed the part about facilities, asking about the facilities. I was shocked at the condition of the facilities, and there's all kinds of reasons why. We'll get into that a little bit here in a few minutes. The facilities are in the state they're in. We're doing this because of the state of the facilities, and we need improvement. This is not, I was shocked my first year when I would go into a building and I saw people doing this when this class was in session, when the students were in these classrooms, and I'd go out in the hallway and I'd see that. And I remember distinctly Matt might not, I said, yeah, will you let me know when that kind of work's going on? You know, I had no idea. Matt's like, that's kind of how we do business, you know? It's like, okay, so he started keeping me more informed about, hey, we're doing this at this school, this at that school, and I found out quickly that, yeah, that's just part of the fabric of our school district, working on aging facilities that were built in the 50s. Anymore, I don't need a warning that we're doing this kind of work because it's just what we do. And they do a really, really good job. But want to point this out. We have a very good preventative maintenance program in place, but there comes a point when buildings surpass their useful lifespans. And how far do you go before it really starts to impact student learning? As Kendon mentioned, we had a data-driven process, and we insisted on that when we were selecting a consultant and a group of experts to work with our staff, that it's data-driven, and we can let the emotions go and focus on real quantifiable information. 7 of our 11 schools, after a thorough physical assessment and a functional assessment, were rated either unsatisfactory or poor. 3 schools being replaced, and I'll share that in a moment. It's obviously most of Washington School, Northside Elementary, and Sandpoint Middle School are all rated unsatisfactory. There are 19 components, physical components of a building that were assessed. And that's such things as HVAC, walls, floors, foundation, roofs, all of those kinds of things were ranked. I will share, I use Sandpoint Middle School because that's the bulk of the cost of the $55 million levy, somewhere around $28 million. Of the 19 physical components that were assessed, 10 of them were rated unsatisfactory, 6 of them were rated poor, and the other 3 fair and good. 16 of the 19 major physical components were recommended by outside replacements to be, or outside people to be replaced. I'll add now instead of later in the presentation that represents the physical components alone 71% of the overall value of that particular building. That's what would have to be reinvested in the physical components that were assessed to get it to a good rating. That's just on the physical part. On the educational part, the functional adequacy part, such as classroom size and cafeteria size, office size, those kinds of things. When you look at those things at that particular school, in the 50s, classrooms were built for fewer students. And classrooms are built anywhere between 600 and 700 square feet. Today, when schools are built, they're built for today's kind of class sizes. They're built at 900 square feet. So from a functional adequacy, we would have to start looking at tearing walls down as well, making classrooms bigger, and adding on to the school potentially. So our committee looked at all of that and realized that, well, to fully modernize Sandpoint Middle School, you're looking at reinvesting at least 80% of the value of the building back into it. But you never know, if you guys have ever remodeled homes, what is behind the wall and what the additional costs might be. So from a cost effectiveness standpoint and a fiscal responsibility standpoint, replacing it was what we felt would be the responsible decision. This here is, again, I found out right away that it's not, I'm sorry, service right here. Oh, there we go. It's going to buffer for a while, but bottom line is, this is an example of some work that was done here at Washington Elementary. We had a steam leak repair. I'm only sharing it to illustrate one thing that has happened that I thought was highly impactful to student learning. So we had a steam leak, and somebody touched the floor and realized, oh my gosh, it's pretty hot. It was around 170 degrees. And Matt called me at home that night and said, hey, what do you think? Should we close school down? Or should we work on this thing all night, hoping that we get the heat running by morning? We had a good dialogue back and forth, and I decided to hold school that particular day. Because it's hard to close just one school. The fact of the matter is parents rely on siblings that might go to other schools to provide childcare, and it gets pretty complicated. So typically we'll close the whole district. So I thought, we'll do it, and I can't imagine it's going to be that impactful. And it was, and I heard about it, rightfully so. I wish I hadn't made that call now, but students were exposed to a lot of work that was being done to fix the pipes that day. Moving forward, I would not make a similar decision. It would be, we're going to have to cancel school. We can't have kids going home with dusty jackets and complaining about jackhammers and those kinds of things. I share this not as a shock and awe, oh my gosh, there are schools. This is the kind of work that's done on a regular basis, and this happens to be at this particular school. In the last, since 1951, there have been 3 successful measures, tax measures, property tax measures, to support the building of new schools or remodeling or renovating or adding on or whatever. 1951, the schools that we're talking about replacing today, they're part of that 20-year bond. And in the 50s, I know someone was saying 50 to 60 years from now, we're going to be doing the same thing. These buildings have to last 50 to 60 years. That's how you build them. And here we are today going, oh, yeah, we need new buildings. In 1984, we had a 5-year plant facility levy that there were many projects that were not completed on time or on budget. And I feel like those of us that are in positions here today and all of the rest of the community, that children in the school district are being punished for some poor decisions that were made back in the 80s. I'm not begrudging anybody. People do the best they can with the information they have at the time. Easy to look back, but it was a mess by all accounts of people lived here in the 80s. 2009, we ran a successful 2-year plant facility levy, and that was actually to fix some of the things that went wrong in the 80s and early 90s with this 5-year plant facility levy. I am very pleased to say during this particular levy, in spite of what you might have heard through a mailing that came to your home, or there's definitely an anti-levy group out there that is suggesting that in 2009 we did not complete the projects that we said we were going to do with the dollars that we collected, and that's absolutely false. We built into this 2-year, and I don't say we, I wasn't here, so I'm taking no credit, but I'm pretty happy that a lot of people that were here in 2009 making really good decisions, they're still here, we can rely on. We're looking at adding on to Sago Elementary School, Kootenai Elementary, and some other projects. We built, and then they built in a $1 million contingency for just in case, because they didn't want what happened in the 80s to happen in 2009. And at the end of all the projects, we still had the $1 million left in contingency. That was all whole, so the budgeting was really good. And Kootenai Elementary School was completed 6 months ahead of schedule and $1.1 million under budget. Sago was just about right on time and right within the normal range of the budget. So we had $2.1 million approximately at the end of these projects. And that was then reinvested back into the maintenance and the facilities. And at the district office, we actually have these big placards that show all the projects that was done with $2.1 million. A lot of good work was done in addition to. So we are using the same methodology that was used here for planning. We are also using for this particular bond. We're very confident in not only our plan, but whether or not we have an adequate budget and we're doing the right kind of work. In the state of Idaho, there are actually 86% of the school districts in the state of Idaho currently have a plant levy or a bond on the books that they're collecting taxes for. We're in the gross minority. We're in the 14% that currently is not collecting any property tax dollars to build schools or to remodel or renovate. Some of these school districts, I don't know how many, are collecting on both bonds and on levies as well. That's not abnormal. Sometimes people run a 20-year bond and say, okay, 8, 9, 10 years later, they might run a plant facility levy to do more work. So that's why at times you can have more than one on the books. I may circle back to something else here in a moment. But I won't spend too much time on this part because I think it's been pretty